the improvement throughout the season is a big part. Like, does the team improve throughout the year? Listen, at the end of the day, and we tried to support Skip as much as we could.
Right.
And we care what's best for Bulldog football. And me coming in brand new to this thing, it would have been premature for me to set goals at the beginning of the year saying if he wins X amount of games, then he's going to be retained, right? Because I had to understand the Bulldog culture. I had to understand the talent we had on the team, the coaches that we had on the team. You got to look at the full big picture. And that's why early on, I was out at a ton of practices. That's why early on I wanted to get Coach Tedford, not just his feedback, but just the background of the program, what got us to where we are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? You have to look at it a full picture. And so I knew that I had a full season to evaluate, and that's what we did. We evaluated the entire season to make sure that we were making the best decision for our program. And so at the end of the day, I don't think it was about achieving X, Y, and Z. It was more about what kind of candidates can we draw here to get us to the next level. That included Coach Skip throughout the process.
First we gonna rock, then we gonna fold, then we let it pop, don't let it go.
All right. Welcome back to Bring the Juice. I'm your host, Frank Dalena. Today on the pod, a great episode ahead. Fresno State Athletic Director Garrett Klassy back with us. Garrett, welcome back to Bring the Juice.
Always good to be here. Thanks for having me, Frank.
Good to see you. We'll dive right into it. Obviously, in today's day and age of college football, there's a lot of moving parts. Fresno State is right in the middle of it. Before we dive too deep into it, I just want to make sure everyone knows everyone here is Bulldog born, Bulldog bred. Everyone here is excited for the future of the Dogs in any way, shape, and form, and Bring the Juice is always going to be an asset to Fresno State athletics. With that being said, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions that people at Fresno State are interested in. And the reality of things are the Dogs, we went 6-6 this year. We're headed to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, which it seems like the boys are fired up. They turned a page. They said, next man up mentality. Let's go get this win. Yep. Dogs have won, I don't know, was it like 4 or 5 of the 5 bowl games straight?
Bowls. I think we're going for 6 straight, yeah.
Fun fact, Dalena brother has never lost a bowl game.
Uh-oh. No
fact,
pressure in the house.
Fun fact, okay. But, this season wasn't normal. Right?
Right.
These guys have had 3 head coaches now in 6 months, and it started off with Coach Jeff Tedford in mid-July having to retire due to health reasons.
Correct.
Coach Skip was given the interim head coach tag, and it was his role throughout the season. Start with that. How did you decide, hey, Skip, you're going to be our interim for the year? Where did that go about?
Yeah, it was a unique situation. Coach Tedford was on my search committee. I mean, in that room, in that final meeting, was the president, Debbie Astone, and Coach Tedford. And I literally got the job offer, came out here for the press conference, and then flew back home. And a day later, Coach Tedford calls, like, I don't know if I can go this season. And I mean, what's going on? He goes, my health issues, and need to really take care of myself. And, of course, health needs to be number one, right? Of
course.
And I said, you did this once before. Like, what's the plan? What are you thinking? I mean, I hadn't set foot in in Fresno. I'm brand new at this point. He goes, well, Coach Skip did a great job at the bowl game last year. I think it's going to be a seamless transition, having him coach, this year, get through this year. And then, we can evaluate him for the job. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And, the president was involved in those conversations as well, too. And so, we went in this season going, Skip, earn this job. Like, we're going to do everything in our power to support you throughout the season.
That being said, was there, like, in your head necessarily a record that needed to be attained? Was there a certain goal that you were looking forward to? And I know some of these questions might be dicey, but I just think, we are in a sport in which measurables, touchdowns, enough of those achieve a win. So
sure.
Wins matter. That's the nature of the beast. It's a business, right? Did you have certain goals that you wanted to see or be attained, or was there, things that needed to happen to have that interim tag be removed throughout the season going into it?
No, I don't think there is measurables. I don't ever want to box myself or back myself in the corner. It's got to be the improvement throughout the season is a big part. Like, does the team improve throughout the year? And listen, at the end of the day, we tried to support Skip as much as we could.
Right.
And we care what's best for Bulldog football. Right. And me coming in brand new to this thing, it would have been premature for me to set goals at the beginning of the year saying if he wins X amount of games, then he's going to be retained, right? Because I had to understand the Bulldog culture. I had to understand the talent we had on the team, the coaches that we had on the team. You got to look at the full big picture. And that's why early on, I was out at a ton of practices. That's why early on I wanted to get Coach Tedford, not just as feedback, but just the background of the program, what got us to where we are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? You have to look at it a full picture. And so I knew that I had a full season to evaluate, and that's what we did. We evaluated the entire season to make sure that we were making the best decision for our program. And so at the end of the day, I don't think it was about achieving X, Y, and Z. It was more about what kind of candidates can we draw here to get us to the next level. That included Coach Skip throughout the process.
Was there a point, you think, where the coaching search accelerated?
I was evaluating candidates throughout the year, including Coach Skip. I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't watching football nonstop, making sure that we had the right candidates. And it can't just be, hey, this guy was successful at football, this guy's going to be our next coach. It had to be who's going to fit the community, the Valley, who's going to fit the Bulldog way of football. Like, we wanted to make sure that we could attack the line of scrimmage. We wanted to mistake-free football. We wanted to make sure someone could handle pressure situations. Football, as you know, is very much situational football. The clock management piece. We wanted to make sure that Fresno State has always been about doing more with less. We couldn't just pluck someone from a Power 5 program that's only been a coordinator or position coach at Power 5, come here and always be wondering, what I need X, Y, and Z. Instead of being, I'm grateful that I have this and we're going to work within these confines. And I think that's very important. That's the way we've always been. And so we wanted to make sure that we had someone that could fit that dynamic and fit those needs and those values of the Fresno State football program.
I very much agree with that, because one thing people don't quite understand is Fresno State's never been a school full of 5-star recruits, right? It's been, some of our best players have been walk-ons, guys who weren't recruited, guys who got kicked out of a place and needed a second chance, and they found their wits about them here at Fresno State, and that's part of the culture that there is. And there's been the diamonds in the rough here and there, and they're big recruits. They're going to go to places in today's day and age that might pay more money or promise certain things. But here, one thing that we've always thrived in is you work with what you got. You utilize whatever assets you have. Let's use their strengths, right?
Yeah.
Let's use our strengths. If we got a bunch of fast guys, let's be quick with it. If we're be a downhill runners, let's run some jumbo package, whatever it might be.
Yep.
And
fit to your personnel.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it's no matter the personnel, though, the culture of saying we are going to play hard-nosed football. We're going to do things right. You overly hear about the blue-collared presence that we have here in the Valley, and our football team is in the shadow of that phrase itself. There's Valley grit we talk about.
Correct.
It's something that, Bulldog born, Bulldog bred. It means something to the people who have experienced it, who go to the games, who maybe don't even go to the games and didn't play football, but they just live here and they know this is as the way we are.
The Valley revolves around Bulldog football, right? That's a great responsibility to have on anyone's shoulder. And I have great respect and I understand that, right? Every day there's pressure, but great pressure. I love that pressure. Knowing how important Bulldog football is, it was very important to make the right decision for this football program moving forward, because it's not just the athletic department, it's not just the university, it's businesses in this area. It's from, whether it's from Stockton down to Bakersfield. It is Bulldog football, and it's a huge economic driver in this valley. And so it's important. It increases, a successful Bulldog football team increases the value of a degree from the school. It increases the demeanor. People, when there's excitement around Bulldog football, everyone's in a great mood in the valley when that happens. And I think that's it. We are the NFL team in the valley, and I think that comes with a great responsibility. And I understood that going in this process. This was an important hire for us moving forward.
Right. And I think, one of the biggest reasons people did, they favored Skip is because they said, oh, he's Bulldog born, Bulldog bred.
Yep.
And, did you know going into the coaching hire, though, although, yes, Skip's Bulldog born, Bulldog bred, did you make sure any candidate we have has an understanding that there's an already established culture here, right?
Correct.
And with our new coach, Coach Entz, that's coming in, he has, I don't know if there's a history lesson that needs to be said. And I'm not the guy to say, well, you better learn today. I'm not that guy at all. Yeah. But it's not like I'm not going to throw shade at another program here, but it's not like a Nevada or San Jose State or, Wyoming maybe even, who they're not really known for anything. Right. Fresno State's known for the checkerboard end zone, for the Green Valley V, and the brand of football in which is played here.
Correct.
Was that part of the hiring process, you think?
Yeah, the last thing we want to do was start from scratch, right? We have to understand who we are, and that's why this full year process during football season was very educational for me. Like, the last thing we need to do is reinvent the wheel. As we said on the farm growing up, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So we needed to find out someone that could take those same values, that same culture, and build off of that. And Coach Entz fits all those qualities and traits. And he's not Bulldog born, he's not Bulldog bred, but he has those Bulldog qualities, right? And I think people tend to lean back towards the Bulldog family for obvious reasons, right? It's a very special culture. And, one of the things I keep hearing about is, well, we don't want someone to treat this as a stepping stone. And my thought going through that was the same thing, right? I'd love to have someone here the next 15, 20 years. But if you look at schools that are deemed stepping stones, those are the schools that haven't consistently reinvested into their programs, right? And at the end of the day, it's just as much on the administration it is on any football coaches left here about making it or treating it like a stepping stone program. We need to reinvest in the program. When I got to Oregon in 2005, our operating budget was $35 million. And when I left in 2013, it was $110 million. Wow. And granted, everyone's going to say, well, that was Phil Knight, right? He had a part of that, but there was a lot of other generous people, and there was success from the football programs that went through it. I mean, Oregon football was not founded, but the success happened with Rich Brooks. They got carried on to Mike Bellotti, and they didn't have a lot of resources there either. But when they started reinvesting in the football and started treating it like the power of the powerhouse of the state of Oregon and being an economic driver, then coaches started to stay because it wasn't a stepping stone. And so I don't know if it's so much because people don't like Fresno, because this place is an incredible place. A stepping stone has to be, we have to show that we are reinvesting in the football program. There's many coaches that have had multiple stints here, and they come back and like, boy, 30 years ago, we had great facilities. I came back 20 years later, and they're the exact same.
Right.
So we have to do our part. This isn't on football coaches. This is on myself. This is on our administration to get serious and start investing in the football the right way.
Right. In my redshirt freshman year, I don't know why my head went to this. My redshirt freshman year, we had Coach Tim DeRuiter, and it was the year we went 1-11, which was tough. Mm-hmm. He got fired. We played Utah State in a late game. We got home at like 4 a.m. We had a team meeting the next morning at like 9 a.m. Mm-hmm. And I'm 19 years old, 18 years old at this point. Just happy to be there.
Sure.
Getting a little burn playing college football. It's awesome. But it went 0 to 100 real quick. It was my first big boy conversation of, hey, this is a business, right? Mm-hmm. We didn't know that Coach DeRuiter was getting fired that morning necessarily. Mm-hmm. Now, there were signs we were losing. Social media leaks everything these days. And I think the guys in our locker room, we weren't shocked by it, but we were just disappointed that we learned about it over Twitter.
Yep.
What was your goals and your communication with the team and the program right now, knowing this is ongoing, trying to get ahead of it before it was leaked with social media?
Yeah, one of the things I did was to make sure that I sat down with some key returners for this upcoming season on Sunday after the UCLA game. And it wasn't to endorse a candidate. It wasn't not to endorse a candidate. I wanted to find out what qualities they wanted in the next head coach for Fresno State football. And so I tried to involve some of the key players in that part of the process, right? And then as we went through this whole process, it was important to me that whoever we decided to hire as the next head coach, whoever did not get the job, that they heard it from me and not through social media. And that's tough to do. And as we went through the process and it became apparent to myself and the president that we wanted to hire Matt Entz, it became increasingly more important because of who Tim Skipper is as a person and him being Bulldog born and Bulldog bred, that this needed to come from me face to face. And so I did meet with them first thing. I don't know what morning that was. I guess that was last Wednesday morning, to make sure I had that meeting with him face to face. And he heard it from me. And it was important because it's important how we treat people. Everyone needs to have respect and treat it with respect. And B, from personal experiences, I was the interim AD at Nebraska for about 4 months. And I know how that process went down. And I found out from a text message at 2 a.m. and in social media in the morning. And to me, that still doesn't sit well with me, and it's going to hurt for a long time. And so both, it's who I am as a person, but also past experience. Like, this needs to be a face-to-face, a man-to-man conversation. And so, I've heard some feedback from community members like, hey, wish we were more involved in the process. I wish they were too. It doesn't mean I don't value the people. It doesn't mean I don't value the Red Wave. I extremely value the supporters of our program, but there's certain ways to handle right things. And I felt at that time that that was the right way to handle things.
Yeah. Not an easy job. Not an easy job.
It's part of leadership, right? And there's no rule book for it. It's like you being a new parent. I found out the hard way too. There's no rule books for those things. And if there were, everyone would be sitting in these chairs, right? But you have to handle things the best way that you can, treating people the right way and with integrity.
I love that. Like you said, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat here, man. And if you have your values held to a certain standard, which it seems like you do, then I respect you. And obviously, I put a little video out when the news broke, but utmost respect to Coach Skip. I mean,
the best.
He handled it. He got thrown into a unique situation at the beginning of the season. He went through this year. There was highs, there lows, but one thing I mentioned is this team fought their asses off every step of the way, and I think they'll finish strong because that's just who they are.
Yes.
And that's not just because of one player, two players, three players. That's because as a unit, that's the standard that's upheld here when you wear the Fresno State jersey.
Correct. I mean, the model this year has been finish, and I don't expect any less from this team or this coaching staff. They want to finish what they started this year.
So, again, tip my hat to Coach Skip. Like you mentioned, when we've talked in the past, he's Bulldog born, Bulldog bred. Whether he's the head coach or he's walking down the street, doesn't matter.
Correct.
With that being said, moving on.
Yep.
We got a new football coach.
We do.
What were the difference makers in ultimately making Coach Entz the man for the job?
Through the process, we really emphasize someone with head coaching experience, right? There's just going from a coordinator to a head coach. That's not an easy transition. Seeing one side of the ball, and especially, a few years ago, you didn't have 30 support staff. You didn't have 120 players. You need to be a CEO of a program. And then you need to know what it feels like to win championships, right? I think that's really important. If you have a championship pedigree, you know what it takes to get there. You know what it takes to stay on top of that mountain once you get there as well, too. Right. And then I just think there's certain game decisions, right? I mean, there's a certain situations that you can't emulate by standing on the sideline and evaluating, right? You have to be in that moment. You have to make tough decisions when the game is on the line. You have to make adjustments, not just at halftime, but during the game to make sure that you're doing the right thing to help the team win the game. And we really value that type of experience going through this process. And I think getting someone like Matt Entz that's won national championships, been part of I think 6 national championships total, not as head coach, but as an assistant coach and a head coach there, and then getting that experience at USC, being at a Power 5 school, program, knowing what a school does with these resources, because as we continue to fundraise and bring more revenue to this program, we got to make sure we're investing the right way. And that combination experience really put him towards the top. He's really big on recruiting, retaining, and developing players. And I think that's always been the model here. And so as we go through and as NIL and the revenue sharing gets to be a bigger piece of it, we don't want to go out there and just buy players. What we want to do is evaluate incredible talent and really turn them into something special. And when they become something special as a player, then we retain them, because that's where we should be investing our resources.
I love that. So what makes it to where Coach Entz is the perfect fit for Fresno State? Why is he going to win here?
Just that blue-collar Valley grit, that Valley DNA. I mean, he talks about controlling the line of scrimmage. He talks about clock management. He has coached through some of the most difficult situations. He's done it at schools. One of the questions I asked him is said, listen, North Dakota State has some of the better resources in your conference. Like, we have some of we're one of the lowest resource institution or conference. He goes, but that wasn't my competition. I was out recruiting against Iowa and Minnesota and other Power 5 schools, and we were beating them for kids. He goes, so I know what it's like to do more with less. So he understands that value. Even in his short time here, I mean, he's been working straight throughout the clock. I don't know if he slept since he's been here. And he is evaluating talent. He's meeting with coaches and players. The guy has a relentless work ethic. Awesome. Being a farm kid from Iowa, he understands it. He's part of agriculture. He was part of a dairy farm that turned into a beef farm. And, his wife, same way, grew up in small town Nebraska. They are going to be incredible fits here, and they understand how to win the Bulldog way. And I think that's really important to anyone we want to hire. This guy, who, if you haven't met him yet, you're going to be in awe. He is all football all the time, and he loves it. He eats, breathes, and sleeps football.
I love that. So ultimately, the landscape of college football, like we've discussed, with the transfer portal, guys are leaving for both money and other opportunities for playing. Maybe they're not happy with their playing time, their statistics, whatever it might be.
Sure.
Does that make it harder to establish a culture where you bring guys in and you groom them for 4 to 5 years to really create that long-term culture that we have here at Fresno State? I think Kirby Smart said it really, really nicely a couple of years ago when the transfer portal first got a little wacky, where ultimately you're not going to get to bring a guy in as a freshman and he's going to wait his turn as a freshman, and then a sophomore he plays a little bit more, than a junior he's ready to go to have a big senior season. That's not happening as much anymore. Now it's, you don't play right away, I'm going to the next place. So how can we here at Fresno State, because we kind of have a lineage of guys coming, getting developed, and then blossoming towards the end of their careers.
Sure.
How are we going to create that culture in 1 year? Because it's one at a time, right?
It is, and I think that's why you're going to see in college athletics, you're going to see coaches win 11 games 1 year and maybe 5 the next, because I think the culture is going to change year to year from your team.
Right.
But how it pertains to Fresno State, Coach Entz is committed to recruiting Valley kids. Like, this is one of the few places where it still matters to wear the Bulldog in your uniform. Of course. You have to go.
Local guys want to stay here.
Absolutely. You have to go get those kids. And whether it's from junior college, from the smallest high schools that 24/7 doesn't go in and evaluate, we need to find those diamonds in the rough. And that's who we're always going to be. And once again, this campus, and they have those Bulldog values, I'm not going to judge a kid that goes here and leaves here and maybe get $1 million offer from another school that we can't match. I want people to do what's best for them, right? And we're going to do everything in our power to retain that. But I think we're going to have to be fiscally responsible with the gifts, with the NIL that we have working through this process. And so we're always going to be talent evaluators here. And Coach Entz has talked exclusively about that. How is he going to do high school coaching clinics, camps to cater to the small school kids, to the junior college kids, so that he can evaluate so many kids in one spot? And he's going to make sure that him and his coaching staff, that's the values he's looking for, people that are relentlessly out on the road, visiting with high school coaches, visiting with kids. And so, yeah, does it get more difficult? Absolutely. But if you do things the right way and you show them that you're investing in their talent, you show them that they can get to the NFL, which we have hundreds of cases of kids going to the NFL from this program, they're still going to want to stay here. And so we got to make sure we continue that culture. And we're going to lose some, right? But I think at this place we have a history we're going to retain more than we lose.
So is there any secret sauce to getting guys to stay here versus going to the portal? Is there anything besides cheddar right now that's keeping guys?
Every individual is different, right? But I mean, the money is a big part of it. Right. But I do, as I mentioned earlier in this conversation, we need to be doing what we need to do. We need to make sure we have a robust nutrition program, a robust strength and conditioning program, a robust academic program. We have to make sure our coaches are invested in our kids. They can coach them hard, but those kids, they know that you love them at the end of the day.
Of course.
Our administration, I need to get to know these kids on a one-on-one level. We have to make this very difficult for them to want to leave here. Right. And like I said, if an SEC or Big Ten school is going to come in and offer them 7 figures, I don't know if there's much we can control about it. But next man up, right? That is what you say. So next man up, we're going to make sure that we build depth. So there's people that can come up through the year. And Coach Entz is really big. I'm probably going to screw up talking about it, but the way he's going to practice is going to build a ton of depth in the program. And it's very unique. A little bit, my words, not his, a little bit how Tom Osborne had 2 full fields going on at one time when Nebraska's walk-on program was in its heyday. So there's certain ways that you can build depth and where these kids are getting reps, where they want to stay because they know they're getting better every day. And even if you're showing the 3rd, 4th string kids that they're getting reps and getting better, hopefully they'll want to stay.
So I think one thing that people have kind of, at least from a Fresno State perspective, people are confused about, and we see other programs, NIL, structures everything's different, right? There's certain programs out there where everybody makes the same amount of money. There's certain programs out there where there's some guys not making any money and their best guys are making a lot of money. All these different formats. And I know you can't do a pay for play necessarily,
Sure.
right? But is there any sort of way that there could be a structure of it's not performance based, but everyone's paid consistently throughout the entire year, and then at the end of the year, there's something similar to a business where you could have end-of-year bonuses?
Yeah, the whole system is changing with the revenue sharing piece, and players are going to start having contracts, and there will be some bonus structure. I'm not talking about Fresno State in general, talking to colleagues across the country, that there will be a bonus structure in there, and primarily some of those bonuses could be for performance, could be for staying, could be for retention. Right. But that's where we're getting at. In return, they're going to have to make public appearances for the university, or if it's NIL, through those companies that are supplying those NIL resources. And so there's a way to do it. And right now, we're looking at every model possible to figure out. Right now it's obvious we don't have revenue to share. Now, Marcus does a great job with Bulldog Bread. Luckily, we have a great NIL program. We always can do more. But at the end of the day, there's going to be some tough decisions made on how do you distribute that money. And I'm sure, Coach Entz's strategy is going to be a little bit different than Coach Tedford's strategy. And so we're still working through those pieces right now.
The pay-for-play thing's really going to change the game, it seems.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at least with the revenue sharing piece, those schools that can afford it, it's a static number. Like the max you can share through an athletic department is $20.5 million for this next year. Right. The NIL is always going to be additive. That's where the arms race is going to be. Who has the most NIL dollars above and beyond that? And so, listen, we're going to get creative here. We're going to change our business model and how we operate administratively here in the next year and a half. That I believe strongly that our kids are going to be able to monetize more off their NIL than ever before. And I can't go too deep into it, but we're looking at ways where we can get advantage, at least of our peers that we're competing with every day, to where there's just going to be some natural dollars that come just on how we operate the assets that we control as a university.
Coach Entz, we already mentioned he's not going to reinvent the wheel here. Mm-hmm. If you had to say, in your, you're the man behind the wheel as athletic director right now, and you got this steering wheel, which is Coach Mike Entz,
Sure.
Matt Entz, excuse me.
You took some heat for calling him Mike on your
I
first.
know,
You know
I
that?
know,
You
I
know?
know. You know what? I saw a bad tweet. I wrote it down. I was trying to get the tweet out fast.
And I follow that guy because he's a Packers beat writer as well as an NDSU.
I wrote it down real quick, and everyone gave me crap for it. I'm like, all right, man. I corrected it. I whatever. I'll make sure.
Just call him Coach. It's easier.
That's why I do say everybody.
Coach Entz.
What do you think his first thing he does is going to be out of the gate? What's his first thing he's going to put his thumbprint on?
Well, I mean, he's hiring a staff right now. He's trying to retain a lot of our key players, and he's reaching out to a lot of local kids. But I think his thumbprint right away is going to be instilling. I'm not saying we're not a tough program, but he wants to make sure that there's toughness through up and down throughout the program, from every single position to no matter what string you are. And so I think toughness is key to him. Fundamentals, attacking things with great detail. Those are the things that are non-negotiables for him.
The alumni right now, some Bulldog alum, they feel some type of way.
Sure.
What would your message be to the alum that feels some type of way? And how can we turn the page and get on board into a positive foot forward with this Coach Entz?
I completely understand there's a group of Bulldog alumni that aren't happy with this decision, and I understand it. I mean, right. Tim Skipper is an incredible person, an incredible human being. Those that played with them, those that he coached, of course, he made an impact on their life. I'm not disputing that. But at the end of the day, the decision was made, and if the alumni aren't happy with the decision, they aren't happy with me. I understand it, and I'm not hiding from the criticism. I've returned emails, text messages, phone calls to people that were upset about it, and I can explain it. But at the end of the day, we need to support these young men that are Bulldog football players. We need to support Coach Entz and his coaching staff. They had nothing to do with this decision.
Right. Don't be mad at
him. They've been given an opportunity. And the one thing I've learned from day one, a united United Bulldog family is a force to be reckoned with. And, or I always say United Red Wave, a unified Red Wave is a force to be reckoned with. And so we need to be unified through this process. And we need to cheer for Coach Entz. We need to cheer for these, and more importantly, for these players, because they're part of that same fraternity as they are. And, I hope time heals all wounds, but we have to do our part as administration too, to do more to show these players, these alumni, that they're valued and they're welcome. And Coach Entz and I have already talked about ways around spring football. How do we get the alumni more involved? What kind of program we do to get the alumni more involved? It's important to him. It's important to me. So, hopefully they'll understand the vision and the direction of this program. And, we can all cheer. There's nothing wrong with cheering on what Coach Skipper does or what Coach Entz does, right? But I think, anyone that wears those Bulldog colors, especially the ones that are competing on the football field, we need to back them up and be unified throughout this process.
I agree. What's done is done, and business is business.
And listen, at the end of the day, we have, going into the Pac-12, we have a short audition to prove that we belong on this stage. Right. It's a short-term deal. And so animosity within the program is not going to help us get there, right? And so, listen, I hope I'm here. My plan is to be here for the next 20 years. And obviously, we need winning football for me to achieve that goal. But it's not about me, right? It's about making sure this program is relevant for years to come. And I think I've talked to some former football alumni, and when I first got here, they're like, Klassy, just keep us relevant. I'm like, well, no, that's not the plan. We're not here just to get a participation trophy and cheer because we're in the Pac-12. We're going there to win championships, and we need to invest. We need people to be behind us. And listen, anyone listening to this podcast and like, yeah, easy for you to say, I get it. But feelings aside for Garrett, Klassy, support this program. But, really. And that doesn't mean monetarily. I'm not, if you don't feel like you want to do it monetarily, fine. But come to the game, mentor these young men. I mean, they are incredible student athletes. And so, listen, there's going to be a time, the emotions are high right now. I understand it. I respect that. I get it. Like I said, at one point, I said, as amazing as a person as Skip is, I'd be shocked if people weren't upset about this, right? I mean, he's that special of a person. But this is the direction we're heading, and I hope they decide at some point to get back on board with us.
They will. And I will be a spokesperson for nobody besides myself to say, initially, yeah, maybe it took some people by a swing of things, but I think you got to trust the man in charge, like I said you are, and you clearly did it for a reason. And I think you got to look at this glass half full, glass half empty right now, right? Skip's going to land on his feet. I have no doubt about that. Moving forward, though, Coach Entz, the guy's a winner. The guy's won natties. The guy's won it. I said it in my little video where I called him the wrong name. But North Dakota State's a program where there's a lot of similarities to Fresno State and North Dakota State. The guy has done it, and clearly, growing up on a farm, he had a little taste of Hollywood this year, and I'm sure he was like, I'm probably okay. I think Fresno traffic's a little better than LA traffic.
No doubt.
I think the future looks bright. I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
I think we're not the only people in the country that are going through coaching changes, transfer portals, things like that. It's the nature of the beast. This is a business. You got to find a way to adapt or die, and I think we're adapting. I don't think we're dying. I think if it was, I'll be fully transparent with you. I think if it was today, if transfer portal opened up today and we didn't know what we were doing, I'd be like, hey, we're kind of a little bit of a wounded animal right now. But that's not the case. And again, I tip my hat to you for trusting your gut, making decisions, and going things about the way you think they should be done, and sticking to your guns. Because when bullets are flying and everyone's in your ear, chit chat here, blah 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 blah, everyone's got opinions. Are like everyone's got one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I think you've handled it well, and bring the juice back to the Dogs, and they back Coach Entz, and I think the future looks bright. What else do you got for me?
I mean, the one thing to follow up on that, the Red Wave, they're going to love this guy.
Yeah.
The football alumni, they're going to love this guy. The community, the Valley, everyone, they are going to love this guy. I mean, this guy is cut from the same cloth. And, one thing that's important that your listeners need to know, we absolutely have the right leader for this program moving forward. I mean, everything that he is doing right now, he's handling it the right way. You know, whether it's with the current coaches, the players, he handles it with respect, dignity, with integrity. Yep. He's a hardworking guy. I'm telling you, this is someone that anyone that meets him is going to be ready to run through a brick wall for. And the future is bright. It's in great hands. And I think, you know, one of the things that I hope the Red Wave knows is that, you know, when I make decisions for an athletic department or we make decisions for an athletic department, it's for the long-term success. I'm not this person that's doing it for the next job. I'm not doing it for anything else. I've never made a decision in my career that wasn't in the best interest of the university, at least how I felt. Like how the decision, how it turns out in the end, history will write that for themselves. But we're going to support Matt. Their future is bright, and I couldn't be more excited having him here as a Bulldog.
Last thing before I wrap it up. So end of year's coming up.
Yeah.
Some people are looking to move some money around. If I'm a guy and I got $1,000,
yep,
where am I going with it if I want to support Fresno State athletics right now?
I think the best, you know, especially if you're football specific, giving it to,
I am.
Yeah, there you go. NIL, Bulldog bread is the best place you can give. And I think that's really exciting. In fact, Tyler Mariucci and I just got back from a visit today, and I think we're really close to getting a 7-figure commitment directly to football. And I think you're going to see us in the next few months release a football excellence campaign. It's not going to be called that, you know, but it's going to be a combination of including NIL with giving to the BDF, the Bulldog Foundation, and making both places stronger because we need both places to succeed. But right now, with the transfer portal and trying to retain some of our best players, NIL is absolutely the best place you can give right now. And there's some tax-deductible gifts you can do the NIL, and it's year-end giving. It's in December.
That's what I'm thinking.
You need those tax breaks right now, and so this is the best time to give.
We'll bring the juice. We'll continue to support the Dogs.
Thank you.
The way the Dogs support the juice. Garrett Klassy, everybody, Fresno State's athletic director. Check out Coach Entz.
Matt
Entz. We'll get him on the pod soon enough, I'm sure, and we're fired up to back you. But seriously, appreciate your time. I'm sure the Dog fans are going to walk away from this fired up and ready to go buy some more gear and cheer on these Dogs at the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
There you go.
You're going?
I will be there, yes. And I think we're going to play at Boise next year on the blue turf. So for the kids that are returning, it's going to be really good to get a game on there before they go up there next year. And listen, yes, buy the gear. Everything helps, right? Watch on TV if you can't make it, but It'll be fun. It'll be a great celebration of the year, and excited to get up there. I mean, 6 wins isn't easy, right? So it's a good way to celebrate.
Garrett Klassy, ladies and gentlemen. Bring the juice. Get your piss hot. Stay fired up. Go Dogs. We'll see you next week.